What's up, everybody? It's Don Black here. By the way, you guys know that one of my favorite things in the world is professional wrestling. So when somebody told me I had an opportunity to interview the guy that you're seeing right now, I was like, well, duh, I'd do it in a heartbeat. You see him, you know him as Aiden English, but his real name is Matt Rehwoldt.
Bingo.
I got the name. Jeez, man. Now you're going to be in town October 17th for Zelo Pro Wrestling. The show must go on. Right?
Yes, absolutely. An appropriate title for the drama king himself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before I talk more about you, I want to get into the show because I know we're COVID-19 still around and everybody's still dealing with that. So people trying to go out and see shows and everything like that. But with this show, they're actually going to take the time to make sure that everybody is safe. Or can you expound on that a little bit? How this is going to work out?
Yeah, absolutely. Like a lot of the things you may have seen, whether it's in your own home or around the country, we've been doing it. Zelo Pros had 2 shows here in Chicago, and same thing has applied. Luckily, in Milwaukee, we have a little bit of a larger venue, so more space can be allowed between the designated seating zones. Hand sanitizer will be everywhere. Masks will be required, and inside both. From us and the fans as well until we perform. That's the only time you'll see us take it off. Backstage, we'll have it on, all that kind of stuff. And so, all that kind of safeguards will be put in place.
So you said you've done this already before. So how has it worked out?
I mean, I said it the first show, it was the first independent show since WWE I did here in Chicago last month in August. And I kept saying, I'm like, you know what? It's not obviously the way we hope it's going to go for long, and it's not the way we wanted to come back, but hey, we're back and we're doing it as safely as we can. And just even if it's limited, it's nice to have that live interaction. Get distance limited, whatever it is. I don't care. Like there's something about pro wrestling that needs just even a little bit of that fan interaction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have to agree. And I've been watching wrestling since the pandemic has happened. And I'm kind of glad that they've gotten some kind of fan reaction to it, and on some shows, but still, there's nothing like having the fans in the place where they can make noise, even with their masks on. So, and I'm kind of excited to see what this is going to be like because I have like about 18 different masks that I wear. This is just the one I have right now. But I'm kind of excited about the show because I want to just see what it's like. And I've been to one of the shows before, and it was really, really cool. And I'm excited to see that you're back in the ring again, which is awesome. Even though I love your commentating, I got to say I give you props on that. Now I have to say this, and I was wondering if I was going to put this out there to you, but I just said I'm going to shoot for it and do it. So when the first time that I ever heard of you is when I saw the Vaudevillains.
Okay.
And I'm watching, NXT, and I see this thing, and I'm just like, what the hell is this? I'm like, this is like the goofiest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is never going to work. I hate it. And you know what happened? Totally bought into it. Because I always feel if the character is an extension of yourself, it absolutely works. So now, how is it that a guy who does theater and things of that nature gets into professional wrestling? How does that happen?
Well, I mean, the way it happened was I loved professional wrestling first.
Okay,
that was my first love. I mean, I fell in love with it as a kid. I didn't get to see it super early on because we never had cable TV, so I didn't see Raw. I didn't even see the early Nitros or anything like that. Yeah, I would hear kids talking about it at school. And I was like, what is this? What is going on? I got to find this. And then finally, I found it at a local station. They had Shotgun Saturday Night, if you remember that show.
Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah. And so like that was on like Saturday nights on like a local channel here in Chicago. Right. And that's where I would get all my fix. And eventually we I was able to catch up on everything else. But yeah, I love that as a kid. And then everything, honestly, that I did after that with acting and performing and even stage combat and all that stuff that I did in college was kind of a route because I knew I wanted to wrestle. I was like, well, I fell in love with acting a little bit in high school, but I'm like, this could also help me. If I want to be on TV one day, I'm going to need to know how to perform, how to, get into a character, how to get over stage fright, just public speaking, things like that. Right. And so I would be lying if I said, yeah, even going into theater in college and doing all that wasn't in the back of my mind, always thinking it could help me with wrestling.
Wow. So when you decided to do the commentating thing, because I was very surprised at that. I was, happy seeing you, in the ring, doing the stuff with Rusev, now Miro or whatever they're calling him these days. And it was actually absolutely cool. But then all of a sudden we saw you doing the commentating thing, and you were really good at it as well, too. So how did that happen?
Well, I mean, I don't get me wrong, and I love being in the ring. It's why I'm back in there now. But at the time, that was right after everything with the Rusev Day had ended, and I was having trouble trying to get something going, creatively and everything, which sometimes happens. And I was throwing everything against the wall, and nothing was coming back to me. So Tom Phillips from the announce department, who I've known for a long time, came in and was like, "Hey, man, I think you'd be really good at this if you want to try it, kind of on the side. I'd love to have you come down and work with me." Right. And so, I went to the Performance Center in Orlando and did a little session in the booth because they have a recording booth down there, and went well. And in my head, I was like, that was fun. Maybe we'll try again in 6 months, right? Like, goodbye. Right. But then the next week, I was at television tapings, and Michael Cole calls me into the gorilla position backstage and was like, "Hey, I heard it went great. So here's the deal. We're going to stick you on 205 Live after SmackDown. And so if you wrestle and do house shows and do whatever, but afterward, just come here and we'll see how it goes over the next few months. And then we'll talk some more." And I was like, okay, I guess you're just going to throw me out on live TV after, an hour in the booth, which was both terrifying and a huge kind of attaboy sort of thing to be given that kind of, I don't know, that responsibility. And I jumped in, and I had a great team with Vic Joseph and Nigel McGuinness. I mean, those guys are a hell of a team. And then I feel like we gelled really well together, and I had a great intro and ended up falling in love with it more than I thought I would. Yeah.
Everybody can't do it. Everybody can't do it.
It's harder than a lot of people think.
Yeah. But you took to it really well. And I was just very surprised, first of all, seeing you do it. And I was thinking, is he hurt? Is something going on with him? Is that why he's over there? But no, I was just like, I actually enjoyed hearing the things that you said. So that was absolutely amazing. So now I know you did a little bit of singing when you started doing the vaudevillian thing. But so talk to everybody about the Rusev Day, how all of that just blew the hell up, because I didn't see it coming, but I remember seeing the crowd I'm like, why the hell are they cheering for this? This doesn't make any sense to me. It makes no sense. How did that happen?
I mean, it's one of those things that there is no on paper why it makes sense. Like you can't deconstruct it and go backwards. Like, oh, it was this thing that I couldn't tell you. It was supposed to be, there was the original, I guess what we'll call it is like the Rusev Day ceremony.
Right.
Where he got the key to the city, stood on the platform. I sang the Rusev Day song. And that was supposed to be it. That was supposed to be our only interaction. They were like, "Oh yeah, you do the singing thing and you were involved last week. We're going to do this too. And then bye-bye," sort of thing. But starting that next week, right at, house show live events, we would start hearing Rusev Day in the crowd. I was like, really? Like they bought into that? Like, okay. And then it was at TV, and then it was at every little town we go. And it was like, I like to think that they saw, first and foremost in Miro and Rusev at the time, an opportunity, because that's a guy who's very talented, but was always he's kept in that box of the big, bad, foreign guy heel, right? Right. And there's so much more to the guy, and he's funny, and he's entertaining, and he's a great athlete. And you saw a little bit of it, but it was always in that kind of very defined box. And I think people were kind of ready to see, I want to see more of this real guy. And then I would like to think, as I came along for that journey, it started off just the guy in the tux singing. Right. But I got to express a little bit more of like a human personality and not like a caricature that was defined like a cartoon character. Like I felt like, I was singing, but I also got to be like a real human finally for once. I felt like I had always been a cartoon character in wrestling, which is fun and entertaining, but didn't feel authentic as much as this. So I think it was both of us getting an opportunity to kind of have some fun and just be real even as ridiculous and on paper as that pairing and everything was, I think we just got to kind of let loose.
Right. No, it was absolutely awesome. And I, like you say, those are the things that you probably love the most, the things that you don't see coming, because you can find out everything now with pro wrestling. Just you Google or whatever like that, you can figure out what's going to happen. But those moments that you're just like, hey, that right there is cool. So that for me, like, hey, it's awesome. And we're going to come back to that in just a second, because I actually have a request of you. We're talking to Matt Rehwoldt, formerly known as Aiden English. He's going to be at Zelo Pro Wrestling. The show must go on October 17th, Turner Hall. So getting back in the ring, let's talk about COVID-19 and how you're holding up with everything. How are you doing?
I mean, doing okay. I mean, at first, like everybody else, it was just Chicago here was a strict lockdown. Yeah. Nothing was open. It was so eerie. The streets were, in this busy city, the streets were dead. You know what I mean? Yeah. And but it's finding things to do. And for me, I've got a couple of little like side projects that I started to do, or that I've been doing. I've got Wrestling with Whiskey. Yeah. I jumped on the Twitch thing like a lot of wrestlers as well. Yeah. So filling your time with passion projects and things like that, and then slowly kind of just creeping back out into the world. So me and my wife are both performers, so we were hit pretty hard, but starting to kind of find footing a little bit again, as people are at least maybe not getting back to normal, but finding what that new normal is. So holding up.
Good. So now you're back in the ring now. How long have you been back in the ring wrestling? How long have you been back doing that?
I mean, technically, I had my first match back at Zelo Pro's last show in a year and a half. Okay. So I had gotten into the ring for, over the last month or two to kind of just train a little bit.
Right.
But my first actual match back was this past month.
Wow. And how did it go?
I mean, it went well, all things considered, but man, it was one of those things. There's nothing that can prepare you for a pro wrestling match other than pro wrestling matches. You know what I mean? I've been in the gym this whole time. I've never, even when I was doing commentary, it's in my blood. I got to go to the gym. It's part of my routine, all that stuff. But there's just nothing. You can do all the cardio you want, man. There's nothing about whether the adrenaline and picking dudes up and throwing them around that just, ooh, I was sucking wind a little bit, but no, it felt really good. And even with, like I said, the limited crowd, it just felt good to have that reaction and everything like that. And it was a hell of a night.
All right. So with the match that's the show that's coming here, who are you going to be taking on?
So that actually is a result of the last match, because it was me and a man who calls himself the Filth King, Brubaker, who's a real piece of work down here in Chicago. So I wrestled him at the last show, and we didn't even really get to a conclusion because his guys ran out and tried to take advantage. But I had two guys, in Mason Conrad and Warhorse, who backed me up at the end of all that. So we will be meeting them in a 6-man tag team match. Me, Warhorse, Mason Conrad versus the Blackheart Battalion led by Brubaker. So hopefully we'll get a little measure of revenge on those boys.
I'm excited to see this show. I'm excited. Once again, it's October 17th at Turner Hall, Zelo Pro Wrestling. The show must go on.
That's right. And it is live, but I should say it will also stream live on Fight TV. If you're not in Milwaukee or able to get to the show, check it out on Fight TV. It will be streaming live.
All right. Because I'm planning on being there.
I plan
on being there. The last show that I went to was a couple years ago, and it was absolutely amazing. And actually, the show that I went to, person that you used to tag with was at that show.
He's done a couple of them, yeah.
Now, I'm just curious, because you're back on the indie scene, and I mean, he's still doing his thing. Do you think at some point in time there could be some kind of reunion?
I mean, if people know anything, or if they don't, they need to know anything about the pro wrestling business, is that the term or the phrase "never say never" cannot be emphasized enough.
Right.
Well, I'll be perfectly frank and bottom line with you. We haven't really spoken a lot. We weren't super, super close outside of work.
Right.
But I mean, the opportunity's there. If people are asking for it,
Yeah.
I think, any company promotion would be silly to ignore that demand. So opportunity is everything, and never say never.
All right, cool. Now, I only have one other question I have to ask you. One last question I have to ask you. I need you to put your singing voice on for me.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Okay.
This is just for me, because when I heard that I was going to talk to you, I said I cannot waste this opportunity, because I want my own Don Black Day. I want a Don Black Day. So I was wondering if you could give that to me and make me feel good about myself.
Well, first off, Don, you should feel good about yourself no matter what. It shouldn't take a song to get there. But you know what? Because you've been so welcoming and kind to me, I don't see why not.
Okay.
It's been a while. It's been a hot second. Right? I gotta just make sure I do this right. I mean, I can even pick up the little mic here.
Oh wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, because this is Don Black Day.
And you hit the vibrato too. My man.
Always, baby.
Awesome. That is the best part of it. How long you would hold that damn thing. And I'm telling you, I would chat with my friends, and we would talk about that all the time. Like, this is the goofiest thing I've ever seen, but it's great. It's absolutely great. So look, Matt, thank you so much, man. You are so awesome.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see the show. Once again, Zelo Pro Wrestling. The show must go on. It's October 17th at Turner Hall. You can get tickets. Go to papstheater.org to find out about tickets, but the show is streaming live. Am I correct?
Yep, streaming live on Fight TV as well.
All right, so make sure you check that out. And thanks again for taking some time to talk to us. Appreciate it.
No, thank you very much for having me.